through the latest shelter-in-place order, or just breathe. So we're going to start today with 2 images. I want you to sit in a comfortable position and just imagine, close your eyes and imagine an infant, little baby, lying in her bed, and watch her breathe. She takes an inhale and her stomach goes way out. It balloons up, and then she exhales and it comes down. Big movement, huge movement. Out when she takes a breath in, and then down, deflating the balloon when she exhales. So now imagine this scenario. You're driving in your car and you stop at a stoplight and you look in the rearview mirror and there's a car barreling down behind you, about to hit you. What do you do with breath? This is what I would do. This is what I do. So look at this. Your shoulders come up, your neck muscles get really, really tight, and you're breathing shallowly just in your chest. So those are an example of the first example of good belly breathing. The second is an example of chest breathing. And unfortunately, we spend way too much time with chest breathing, shallow chest breathing, and not enough time with belly breathing. We've forgotten how to do that as an infant, and now we just do too much of that chest breathing. So my goal today is to tell you, show you why it's so important to do the belly breathing, and then teach you how to belly breathe, and you'll get to practice. And then I'll show you some different ways that you can use belly breathing with time constraints put on that. So that's the plan for the day. So what's the importance of belly breathing? Well, it all comes down to, this is Yotam, it all comes down to the activation of the parasympathetic nervous system. Belly breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system. That's a really important concept. So our nervous system is divided into 2 parts, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. You've probably heard those terms. The sympathetic nervous system is also known as the fight-flight nervous system, and the parasympathetic nervous system is known as the rest and digest nervous system. Let's talk about the sympathetic nervous system first. The sympathetic nervous system is important, very important, to manage with threats. So back in the cave days, when we were being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, our sympathetic, we would perceive that threat, and our sympathetic nervous system would ramp up, and our parasympathetic nervous system would completely shut down, because it's either one or the other. It's an on-off system. And that sympathetic nervous system does several things. First of all, it moves blood to our extremities, to our legs and our arms. And it also releases stress hormones, including cortisol. And those stress hormones and that blood flow allows us to either run away fast or fight. And the cortisol helps to make that happen. It helps us to move faster. So when we were being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, we would act on that fear. We would run, or maybe we would fight. And then the cortisol would be released from our body. We would use it up. But now, the problem is our threats are different. What we perceive as threats are things like being cut off in traffic, or reading the news and being stressed out about it, or having a fight with your partner, or having difficulty at work. But what happens after that situation? We feel it, our sympathetic nervous system turns on, our cortisol courses through our body, but we don't move, we don't run, we don't get rid of that cortisol. So it stays in our body and it creates havoc. For instance, one of the things it does is it increases inflammation all through your body, which is not good. So that's the problem with the sympathetic nervous system now. We need it, but it becomes overactive and problematic. So how can we tap into the parasympathetic nervous system? Well, through belly breathing. What does the parasympathetic nervous system do? Why is that so good? Well, one of the things is it's the rest and digest system. So One of the things is, instead of shunting blood to your extremities, it moves blood to your abdominal organs, specifically your digestive organs, which allows your digestive organs to function better, and you are going to have better digestion. It allows us to relax. It's just the parasympathetic nervous system turns on that relaxation reflex. It lowers our blood pressure. It lowers our heart rate. It increases lymphocytes, which are white blood cells which help to fight infection. And so it helps our immune system. It's where healing occurs. And it decreases stress and it decreases pain. Interesting study showed that they took people who had nonspecific low back pain, which is the kind of pain that I see all the time, and their instructions were to breathe for twice a day for 5 minutes, do deep belly breathing, and for I think 4 months. And it turned out that their low back pain decreased, statistically significant low back pain decrease, but it also increased their proprioception. So what's proprioception? Proprioception is your ability to know where you are in space. So for instance, if you step on something that's uneven, your proprioceptive ability will allow your ankle and your foot and your hip and your whole body to make that adjustment for that unevenness, and you won't fall over. And so increased proprioception helps balance. So deep belly breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps proprioception, which helps balance. Pretty cool. Couple other things. With that deep belly breathing, it starts to move the diaphragm. Your diaphragm is this muscle that sits right below your rib cage, and it's domed. And then when you take a deep breath in, a deep belly breath, it flattens, and then when you exhale, it domes again. So with deep belly breathing, you're conditioning your diaphragm. You're also conditioning your abdominal muscles. And what that does is it helps with stability, core stabilization. You've heard that before. Core stabilization, that's one of the most important things to decrease low back pain and to help with movement. Somebody said, breathing, if you don't control your breath, you don't control your movement. And if you control your breath, you control your movement. And that's really important. Keep that in mind as we go through this. Also, the movement of the diaphragm will create a rhythmic compression of the abdominal cavity and the abdominal organs. And so in that way, it tones the abdominal organs, and that's another way that it helps with digestion. And it decreases anxiety. There's lots of studies that show that the brain regions that are connected to the regulations of emotions are responsive to deep belly breathing. And so it improves all those, you can control those emotions, it improves your focus, it improves your calmness. Also, it allows you to access, perhaps if you have some unresolved grief, most of us do, unresolved grief, it allows us to access that. And so sometimes you will find that you get tears when you're doing the deep belly breathing. And that's okay. That's just grief releasing, and that's a good thing. And finally, another benefit of belly breathing is that, think about what happens in the ribs. So you have these little intercostal muscles between the ribs. And as you're deep belly breathing, the ribs move, the intercostal muscles make those rib moves. So the intercostal muscles put stress on those little ribs. And there's something called Wolff's Law that says that when a bone is stressed, it becomes stronger. And so those intercostal muscles moving, put stress on those ribs, they become stronger. So if you have an issue with osteopenia or osteoporosis, one of the main fractures is in ribs. And so this deep belly breathing will help to strengthen the ribs and perhaps to decrease the potential for fracture in the ribs. So how about it? You think that's worth doing? Let's give it a try. So I'm going to show an example first, and then we'll work with have you. Okay, so I'll show you an example of deep belly breathing. I'm going to use my helpers, cinnamon and nutmeg. They used to be at the office, but they've been quarantined due to COVID. So now they're home and they're helping me. So look at cinnamon. that's cinnamon's on my belly, and we're going to watch what happens with deep belly breathing. Also notice what happens with nutmeg. So here we go. I'm going to take an exhale. And one more. And notice that this doesn't move too much, it moves a little bit. So that's an example of deep belly breathing. And we will have an opportunity to practice that. So notice how much my belly bear moved and how little the chest bear moved. And that's what we're going to work on. Now, one question is, what about open mouth or closed mouth? Typically, you want to keep breathe through your nose on the inhale, and on the exhale, it doesn't matter so much. I tend to breathe through my nose on the exhale just because I'm used to it with yoga. But you have several choices. You can breathe through your nose on the exhale, or you can do just an open mouth breath on the exhale, so it looks like. Or you can do a pursed lip breath where it's an inhale. I find that can kind of create some relaxation. Or you can put your tongue at the roof of your mouth right behind your teeth, so it looks like this. So I would suggest you experiment with all of those. The other thing is, you don't want to work so hard that you're starting to engage your neck muscles. You want this to be as relaxed as possible. And so check in with that. And if you're holding tension here or in your shoulders, or your shoulders are up to your ears, you're working too hard. So relax a little bit and do a little bit, maybe less deep breathing. So that's the idea. So you need to find a comfortable position. You can be sitting in a chair, but you don't want to be sitting back against the back of the chair. You want to have good posture. So sitting away from the back of the chair, both feet on the ground, not legs crossed, and a little bit of a curve in your low back, sitting more forward on your sitting bones. So that's one position. The other position, and it's sometimes the easiest to access this at the beginning, is lying down. If you're lying down, you want a pillow underneath your knees, and then you want a little pillow, perhaps just more underneath your neck than your head. You don't want a big pillow for your head. So find that comfortable position, and we'll get back to breathing. Okay, so belly breathing. The idea is we want to move our abdomen out like a balloon on the inhale and in on the exhale. So put your hand, first of all, just lie down, get comfortable. Feel the earth or the floor underneath you, either at your feet and your butt or on your back. Feel symmetry from side to side. Put one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest. And then just get here. Don't think about what you did this morning. Don't think about your to-do list. Just be here now. And start to pay attention to your breath. Don't change it, just pay attention to it. And notice what's happening with your hands. Is there any movement? Is there more movement in the upper hand, in the chest hand? Is there more movement in the lower hand? Just notice. And then I invite you to exhale a little bit deeper than normal. And then start to breathe in and start to fill that belly up like it's a balloon. You're filling up a balloon. You're inflating a balloon on the inhale. And then you're deflating it on the exhale. And forget about what you've been told since you were a little child, probably, to suck your stomach in. It's not about that at all. In fact, it's about the opposite. Let that musculature, let that holding go. That's a really hard thing for a lot of people because we've been told so many times. But let that go. And deep breath in. And then deflate that balloon. Okay, so I hope you have a sense of that and are feeling a little bit more movement in that belly hand. Now what I want you to do is move your hands over to your side ribs. Just put your hands on your side ribs if you can. And then try to focus. You will still be doing the front breathing, but also try to fill in the sides. And so try to move your ribs out to the sides into your hands with this next breath. So breathing in more laterally than forward. And then your ribs knit together on the exhale. So try a few of these. And experiment with the different types of exhalation. Now, if you can, bring your hand behind, one hand behind your back. We want to breathe all the way into the back as well, because the diaphragm doesn't just attach to the front, the diaphragm attaches all the way to the back. And so we want to not only breathe in the front, but all the way around. So instead of thinking about a balloon, consider an inner tube. We're trying to inflate an inner tube all the way around our abdomen and then deflate on the exhale. So put your hand in your back. If you can't fit your hand in your back, behind your back, then just feel it against the floor. And then take a breath in and try to focus on that back part. So this is the hardest one. This is the one that you feel the least motion. You might feel more if you're lying on your back. One more time. And now I invite you to just let go of your hands. Just let them sit by your side. And just take a few breaths, focusing all the way around, focusing on that inner tube. And now, all those put together is what we call diaphragmatic breathing for the diaphragm. A lot of people interchange the terminology belly breathing and diaphragmatic breathing. I think of belly breathing as more thinking about the front and diaphragmatic all the way around, the inner tube idea. But they're essentially interchangeable because when you're breathing through the front, you're also breathing through the sides. But I think bringing some focus to all the way around helps. Now, that's deep belly breathing. There is some involvement with the chest, but it's not that quick breath right into the upper lungs and then exhale. It's more after you've breathed into your belly, you can take a little bit of a deeper breath into your chest. And the idea is on an inhale, 2/3 is in the belly and 1/3 is into the chest. It's a little bit harder to see, but I'll demonstrate it again lying down with our helpers. So on the inhale, 2/3 is from the belly, 1/3 is from the chest. So it looks something like this. Deep exhale. And on the exhale, it's the opposite. Chest deflates first, and then belly. One more time. And again. So give that a few tries. And as you breathe, think about breathing in peace, calmness, and serenity. and breathing out fear, tension, anxiety. Breathe in peace. Breathe out anxiety. Feel about 2/3 inhale through the belly and then a little sip of inhale into the chest. Exhale, chest deflates, belly deflates. Okay, and of course you can stop this video anytime and just practice longer. But we're going to move on now to something that's very similar to this, except that there's a stop. So what this breathing is, I call it 1-2-1, because it's kind of a 2-count inhale and a 1-count exhale. And the way we do the inhale is we breathe through the belly, and just as we're ready to start getting into the chest breathing, we stop and then take a sip, another inhale, not another inhale, but a continuation of the same inhale into the chest. And then we exhale smoothly all the way down. So it looks something like this. So we're going to breathe through the belly, pause, chest, exhale smoothly. Here we go. Exhale completely. In through the belly, pause, chest, exhale. Try that a few times. Belly, pause, chest, exhale. Try that a few times on your own. So keep breathing and keep focusing. I would say that the things that I've taught you so far, the belly breathing, the diaphragmatic breathing, and the 1-2-1, is what I would call the water breath. Think about water. You drink water all day. You should drink water all day. It's good for you all the time. You can drink as much as you want, pretty much, and it's good for you. That's the same as this kind of breath. Anytime you're feeling any kind of anxiety, anytime, when you first wake up, take a few of these breaths, just like you would drink some water. You can do it anytime during the day, and you really can't do too much of it. The only thing that might happen is your ribs might be sore. You might have some abdominal soreness, but that's okay. You're just working those muscles. So that's our water breath. Next, we're going to move into what I call our coffee breath, and that's box breathing. So box breathing, think about a box or a square, has even sides. And so this box breathing, it can be a count of anything, but I've chosen 4 because it's pretty accessible for most people. But it's a inhale on a count of 4, hold count of 4, exhale count of 4, hold count of 4, and then you start over. So it looks like this. And all of this is belly breathing. Remember, relax these muscles, but we're going to belly breathe, and I'll just count on my hands. Belly, so I exhale all the way. And then inhale. Exhale. I didn't do that very well. So let's go. Inhale. Exhale all the way. So that's box breathing. Box breathing is great for energizing yourself, just like coffee is great for energizing yourself. And the reason it's called coffee breath is it is energizing, but also you can do it too much. If you drink too much coffee, you're just too amped up. If you do this too much, you might get too amped up. So just be aware of that. It's probably not the breath that you would choose to do right before you go to bed. But it's box breathing, 4-4-4-4. It was developed by Navy SEALs, and Navy SEALs use this breath before they go into combat. And in fact, pretty interesting, the Defense Department has done a lot of research on breathing, and they advocate for veterans a lot of breath work. So I think that's kind of interesting. So let's practice the box breathing for a moment. I'll just count a few times and then you can do it on your own. So exhale all the way. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. And again, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Keep going. If my count doesn't work, then do your own, but it should be equal, square. So each part is the same length. So that's box breathing. Good for when you want to feel energized. Good if you in the middle of the afternoon, maybe instead of having a cup of coffee, take 10 minutes and do some box breathing. Now, there can be variations in box breathing, which is kind of a uneven square. So I like the 4-4-6-2 variation, and that's inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 6, hold 2. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 6, hold 2. The reason I like that maybe a little bit better is that I think that if you focus a little bit more on the exhalation, that creates more calmness. So it's an energizing breath, but that 4-4-6-2 maybe drops it down a little bit and allows for more calmness. But if you really want to decrease your anxiety, this is the breath to do. It's the 4-7-8 breath, and it's the anxiety buster. It's really, if you look on the internet, you'll find a lot about that. Dr. Andrew Weil talks about that a lot. And I would call that the whiskey breath. Why is that the whiskey breath? Well, you don't want too much whiskey. It's not really all that good for you if you do too much. But if you're really anxious and really stressed out, maybe a little shot of whiskey might be good for some of us, maybe. So this is our whiskey breath. It's the anxiety buster. It's going to decrease your anxiety. So anytime you're feeling stressed out, try this one. 4-7-8. So it's a 4 inhale, a 7 hold, and an 8 exhale. And then you start it again. No hold at the bottom. 4 inhale, 7 hold, 8 exhale. Looks like this. Exhale all the way. So that's it. So I'll count for you a few times. Now, if the hold is too long or the exhale is too long, don't just shorten each of those. Instead, count faster because the ratios are important. So if you count instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, count 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to create a little bit more speed. That's okay, but don't change the ratios. So I'm going to go on my count, and if it doesn't work for you, just shorten it a little bit. But again, keep the ratios similar. So here we go. So we're going to exhale all the way, and you're breathing through you're doing the belly breathing. So inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Try one more on your own. So how do you feel? I hope more calm, more grounded, maybe a little less stressed out. If you feel like you've worked in your abdominal musculature, it's because you have. If this seems hard, it's because it is. It's not what we do all day, but we should do more of it. And I highly recommend, here's your assignment for this shelter-in-place order. If you can do 30 minutes of deep belly breathing or conscious belly breathing a day, it will change how you feel, absolutely, during each day of the stay-at-home order. There's a couple ways to do it. One way is to just pick a time during the day and spend 30 minutes on your back or sitting comfortably breathing. You might want to start with just breathing and then go into some belly breathing and then some deeper belly breathing, maybe the 1-2-1 where you break up the inhale. And then depending upon the time of day or how you feel, some box breathing or the 4-7-8 to end it. And then maybe actually before you end it, you want to go back to a little bit of more just the belly breathing. So that's one way to do it. The other way is to just fit it into your day depending upon how you feel. Maybe in the morning before you even get out of bed, try the just the box breathing, because that'll wake you up, energize you. If in the middle of the afternoon you feel tired, try some box breathing. Take some time when you're standing in line somewhere and do the belly breathing then. You can do it when you're standing up. There's a lot of ways to incorporate just little bits of it during the day to make up 30 minutes. But I highly recommend that you give it a try. It's accessible to everyone. It's an exercise that has huge benefits and very little cost. I mean, you don't need tennis shoes. You don't need any specific equipment. You've got it all right there. Then I wanted to mention one more thing. There's a woman whose name is Adrienne, who is a YouTube kind of star, and she does Yoga with Adrienne. And if you just check out Yoga with Adrienne, you'll find her. And every year for the last 7 years or so, she's done a yoga challenge at the beginning of the year. And this starts January 1st, and it happens to be a breathing challenge, a 30-day yoga breathing challenge. Nobody's done it because it hasn't been available, but I'm going to do it. I signed up and I'm going to do it. You can sign up for it, and then I think she sends you an email every day. It's not a scheduled event. It's just you can do it anytime during the day, but it's 30 days of breath work. And I think this would go beautifully with what I'm doing and what I've recommended that you do. So maybe these first few days before January 1st, do what I've recommended, just 30 minutes of what I've taught you. And then you can go maybe a little bit further with Yoga with Adrienne. I don't know exactly what she's going to do, but my guess is that she'll bring into, teach different types of yoga breathing. There's all kinds of yoga breathing. We can go much further than just the belly breathing. There's Kapalabhati, there's Ujjayi breath, there's 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 breath. There's all kinds of different breathing that you can access, you can do that will do different things in your body depending upon what kind of breath it is. So I really recommend that you give it a try. It can be life-changing for sure. So thanks for tuning in. I'm Dr. Nancy Rocks. We'll see you again.